Hello, it's me again, the distant end, posting in his truck, just like every other dude with an opinion in their 20s and their 30s. I forgot to add something to my video on Sunday, otherwise I wouldn't be posting until a little while from now when I do the next video. I don't know when yet. I don't know how many of these I'm going to do. I don't know how long I'm going to do this. I'm just trying to be obedient to the best of my ability. In a way, you could say I'm waiting on the Lord while I'm waiting on the Lord. What does that mean? Well, waiting's a active thing you do, whether you're trying to dwell in the presence of the Most High through prayer, being in a secret place, what have you, or you're serving, as in waiting on, kind of like a servant, being waited on, like a verb. So, oftentimes, I think you're waiting while you're waiting, and that's the best way to wait while you're waiting. Sometimes you're waiting while you're waiting while you're waiting. Okay, I'm done. Point being, this is in addition to the thing from Sunday. Speaking of Sunday, I'm going to have a scoop of my melted Meadows Sunday, my post-physical therapy reward. Remember, only hot people have knee injuries. So anyway, Genesis 45. This is following the story of Joseph, which starts at Genesis 30-something, where his brothers are jealous of his super colorful cloak. I'm being very reductionist right now. I love this story, and Joseph is one of my favorite characters in the Bible. Just because of what he goes through, and just love the story. Sometimes you can relate to certain things. I certainly feel that in my own life, and that might be why he's one of my favorite characters. And it's unfortunate we don't get to see a whole lot of first-person accounts. I'm wondering if he sounds like David in the Psalms while he is being subjected to all these different things. His brothers basically leave him for dead / slavery. Never expect to see him again. He becomes this servant for some guy and becomes the head servant, the manager of the house, and then gets falsely accused by this woman for attempted rape, and then gets thrown into prison for a while, and then sort of ministers to some people in the prison and interprets these two dreams, and just works his way up to the top of the food chain again, but not on his own. It's the good favor and the plan of God for that to happen. But in all of his waiting, he was doing stuff, and he was serving to the best of his ability. Again, I wish I knew what he was saying and thinking. I imagine it sounded a lot like, if you ever seen the meme of the dog in the room on fire, it says, "This is fine," probably looks like that. That'd be my guess. I'm also talking on my phone right now because someone had mentioned that they could hear the birds over me, and they were blowing their eardrums out trying to listen. For one, I'm flattered, truly. For two, when you said that, it reminded me of, I think, Matthew 6, and now I'm getting distracted again. So, Matthew 6, 24, I think. Birds of the air, something or other. Birds, 26, yeah. Look at the birds of heaven, for they neither sow nor reap nor gather into storehouses. Yet your heavenly Father does feed them. Are you not worth more than they? Yeah. So, to the person that had that tattooed on their arm, congratulations. It's forever burned in my brain. So, anyway, back to Joseph and serving and healing. Do you want to be healed? Was the ending question in this lesson about John chapter 5. Joseph, after becoming second only to Pharaoh in the entirety of Egypt, is then met with his brothers, who are arriving from their home with need of food. So they come to buy food and grain and things for their animals and for them. And he recognizes them. And I'm sure at first he is puzzled and hesitant. It's like, did they change? Have they changed appropriately in the way that they need to? And I'm wondering what was going through his thought process, because I think if we were to compare notes, I'm sure him and I could come up with some similar answers as far as what questions are we asking. And so he tests them. He keeps one brother behind and goes through this whole thing. I'm not going to go through all of that as much as I'd love to. I'm not trying to do a umpteen million minute video. That's for another time. I'm going to start with chapter 45, Genesis, verse 1. And Joseph was unable to restrain himself before all those who stood by him, and he called out, "Have everyone go out from me." So no one stood with him while Joseph made himself known to his brothers. And he wept aloud, and the Mitzrites in the house of Pharaoh heard it. And Joseph said to his brothers, "I am Joseph. Is my father still alive?" His brothers were unable to answer him, for they trembled before him. Then Joseph said to his brothers, "Please come near me." And when they came near, he said, "I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into Mitzrayim. And now do not be grieved, nor displeased with yourselves, because you sold me here. For Elohim sent me before you to preserve life. For 2 years now, the scarcity of food has been in the land, and there are still 5 years in which there is neither plowing nor harvesting. And Elohim sent me before you to preserve for you a remnant in the earth, and to give life to you by great escape. So then, you did not send me here, but Elohim, and he has set me for a father to Pharaoh, and master of all of his house, and a ruler throughout all the land of Mitzrayim." So, I'm going to add a little quick note here. I do not believe it's in the character of God to intentionally hurt you. I do believe it's in the character of God to take the hurt that happens to you through life, through a broken, fallen world, to cultivate in you something usable. Not perfect, not amazing all the time, but something usable that he can work with. And sometimes he starts with nothing, right? So, actually, Hebrews 12:1. Sorry. Start flipping. I think I have the Avatar: The Last Airbender thing stuck in my head for all of eternity. We too then, having so great a cloud of witnesses all around us, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which so easily entangles us, and let us run with endurance the race set before us. Right, so every weight and sin which so easily entangles us, let us run with endurance the race set before us. So, I think that's exactly what we see exhibited here. I don't know what Joseph's sins were. Maybe in the beginning, pride with this whole rainbow-colored jacket thing. But, again, we don't see his thought process, but we see the result of his endurance and his waiting. His waiting, right? So, we can see the fruit that came about from his labor and his suffering and his waiting. There's something else that I wrote down in a second. Alright, Genesis 50:20. Okay, so Israel dies, and his brothers are afraid that he's going to have revenge on them finally. And starting at verse 19, and Joseph said to them, "Do not fear, for am I in the place of Elohim? And you intended evil against me, but Elohim intended it for good in order to do it as it is to this day, to keep a great many people alive. Again, pointing to the fact that we endure things through life, which I've heard compared to a roller coaster, and that sounds way too metropolitan to me. I think I'd rather compare it to an Eskimo clubbing a baby seal. Sometimes you're the Eskimo, very rarely. Oftentimes, a lot of the time, you're the club, but most of the time, you're the baby seal. Let's be honest. So, okay. Sorry. I do it to myself. Anyway, healing. The big takeaway from this portion here, other than my rambling, should be the portion with forgiveness. So, and I could do a whole other thing on forgiveness. I'm not going to do that right now. But with healing, healing and forgiveness are like this. You don't have to be healed to forgive. You don't have to forgive right away to heal. They're like this, okay? They're very much connected. You can't do one in entirety without the other. And, maybe you've been betrayed by somebody, left by somebody, and they're going to be back, or you desire them to be back. What are you going to do while you're waiting? And maybe they don't, but maybe God's going to use it for something differently. There's no way to really know. So, how are you going to wait while you're waiting? How are you going to serve while you're waiting? Those are the questions that come to mind. And I know that everybody, just about, has at least one person that they really look forward to seeing again someday. That they can have that moment, that embrace. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, there's a time to embrace and there's a time to hold back. There's a time to love and a time to hate. You really hope to see that portion of the healing, the culmination of it, the finality, the finished product. But you don't get there without the endurance and waiting and running the race, right? So I don't know what I'm going to title this yet. Probably something along the lines of the original title, part 2. Might be. So, thank you.